Hey guys, it's Simon here with Caddis Fly Shop and Oregon Fly Fishing Blog. Today I'm going to be tying a couple caddis fly wet flies for our local McKenzie Caddis hatch. Tied on this new Ahrex hook, the FW562. It's equivalent to close to a TMCO 3761, but it's a little more stout. Super strong hook. I think it looks really good, and we're going to tie some wet flies for this hatch coming up. So taking a look at this fly here, it's using a bunch of kind of newer materials we're excited about. The Semperfli dirty bug yarn for easy dubbing on the body. Uses Hungarian Partridge for the Hackle, with also CDC and a little emerging wing of EP trigger point fibers with some Krystal flash. So again, the hook I'm using here is that Ahrex. The Ahrex 50 FW562 in a size 8. And like I said, this is a wet fly, and a bunch of people have questions between wet fly, soft hackle, nymph, and kind of to make that clear real quick, a wet fly is a general broad category of flies that are fished beneath the surface. A nymph is typically fished very deep on the bottom and traditionally has a bead, and a soft hackle is traditionally fished either in the film or just in the middle of the water column, swinging, imitating an emerging insect. And here, this is a wet fly, but it has a bead because our local waters are pretty high right now, and it helps us get down, and it's kind of a traditional wet fly or soft hackle because of this bead. You can omit it if you it would be too much weight. You can add a glass bead if you'd like. It's really up to you, but this is just a general recipe to follow for any caddis wet fly that works. I used this pattern for the Granum hatch and it worked great. I just sized it up for this one. So I'm using 70 Denier, Danville 70 Denier in black. And right now I'm tying in a small piece of uni soft wire in gold, size medium. And we'll take wraps of that to the back and then kind of wrap back up right about to the middle. We want to leave some space to work up here with the rest of the materials we're tying in. And right here we're adding in this Semperfli dirty bug yarn. It comes on a spool, just like thread. You can either snip a piece off or just wrap straight from the spool, but super cool, really easy dubbing. It's nice if you're lazy and you don't like to dub it yourself. So we're going to tie this in. The color I'm using right now is, I believe it's called High Contrast Olive. Luckily it's pretty close to the color of our McKenzie Caddis, our big green caddis, which works perfectly for this fly if you want to tie a bunch of them the night before going to the river and you just don't have a lot of time to mess with dubbing a body and all that. This helps make it pretty quick. So we're going to kind of wrap this up while I use the rotary function. I'm tying that off. I found that helps. And so we're going to take wraps to the front. Before we do that, I am actually going to build a slight profile in the body just to build a little shape. So not crazy, but and again, I want to leave some space towards the bead because we have to tie in those EP fibers and those two that CDC and Partridge to help with the hackle. CDC, when it gets wet, it looks really cool, and it looks like a very buggy emerging nymph. It kind of hugs the body and creates that caddis pupa profile. And the Partridge, just adds a lot of movement. Looks like wings or legs. So works really good. So now that we have a slight profile here, kind of you can half hitch, you can whip finish. If you're just going to wrap it manually, you don't need to do this. This just helps. And so now we're going to take wraps to the front of the body here. And just like that, the whole body is dubbed. It's really cool stuff. So we're going to kind of tie this off right here and then bring the wire up and continue. So kind of we're going to rib the body right here. This adds segmentation look, and it also helps, the wire is also really important for keeping the fly together. The fish hit these wet flies really hard, and if you catch it at the right time, it's just on like crazy, So when it's on, you don't want to have a fly that falls apart. So you know, it's really important to rib the bodies if you want something that will last a good amount of time. And so next what we're doing is we're using some EP fibers in Caddis Gray Light right here, and some Krystal Flash in Gray Ghost to add a little flash. This is going to be our emerging wing, you know, air bubble, whatever you want to call it. Just, you know, it's a little hot spot. It helps puff out the hackle that's kind of wrapped around. You know, it adds a little flash spot for the fish to see. I don't know really why the fish like it, you know, probably for a variety of reasons, but all I know is it works. So we're kind of going to pinch it off here and then pull it up front and make a small little loop like that, and we'll kind of cinch it down like this. And then from here you can adjust. I kind of like the size of that. And then we will secure it, not like that. So we'll readjust it here, secure it, cinch it down, adjust the size if we need, and then we'll snip the excess and continue. So to add a little dark by the head, kind of for like the thorax, we'll just do a couple wraps of Peacock Herl right here. Just 1 or 2 pieces is enough. We're just doing this to fill in a little bit of that extra space right here, add a little dark spot towards the head. We're, you know, just gonna wrap them up real quick and just add in our hackle, and then we'll be done. This is a pretty quick one. You know, you can omit this, you can omit the bead, you can do a glass bead to catch the light. You can do no bead if you, like I said, if you can't afford the extra weight. If you're fishing in really shallow riffles, you know, and the fish are holding there, you don't want the bead. And so I think it's a good option to have a variety of these, you know, wet flies that you swing in a variety of weights. I often will switch depending on what type of water I'm fishing in. I'll go in my box and go from heavy to light, you know, back and forth, and it really makes a big difference. So now we're going to tie in some brown CDC. This is the Dean Street, 54 Dean Street Select CDC pack. Really good stuff. And we're going to make a dubbing loop here. So kind of double this over, wrap it around, get our bobbin out of the way. And then we've got our dubbing loop spinner, whichever tool you have, and we'll add a little bit of wax to kind of hold those feathers in. And very carefully get that where it's supposed to go. And then make a dubbing loop here with the CDC we have, and then we will wrap this in. You know, you don't need a crazy amount. This is just to add a little bit of extra movement and color. And so we'll kind of snip this off. And then we're going to put in a piece of partridge. I like to grab from the mid-back right here if you have a skin. That's a good size. And I tie with this, you know, I'll tie the tip in. I think everyone does this a little different. I like to tie the tip in, is how I like to do it. Like that kind of. And then you get it secured. And we really only need one wrap right here. We don't need a super, you know, tying it kind of sparse, I've found kind of helps. And so kind of get our wraps in here. And this is, you know, why we don't want to crowd it. This is what I was talking about. You kind of, I would leave a little bit more space than I'm showing here. You don't really want to crowd it that close. Just for, you know, sake of your own ease tying this. You've got to leave a little space to do this stuff at the end. And so we'll kind of get this secured in. Wrap that down, and then we'll trim this excess tag right here, kind of redirect these fibers where they have to go. If you missed any spots, filling it in, and then here we go. We'll whip finish and be done, and then clean up the head if we have to. I like to add a little touch of UV resin to help keep the fly together. You know, if you have any straggling pieces here, you can trim them off, but you know, this will get really wet and hug the body like that, and you know, fish will just crush it. Super good fly that I used during the Granum hatch. I've used actually larger sizes when I was kind of tying up this you know, design during that same hatch, and this fly worked great. And so tie it up in a variety of sizes and colors for different hatches. For caddis, you know, you can do tan, brown, green, you know, yellow, whatever the bugs where you live look like. Works super good. You've got the CDC under that'll hug the body, and this will kind of add a lot of movement, and yeah, adjust it as you see fit. But that's the Beadhead soft hackle for the McKenzie green caddis.